Hey, how you doing? My name is Jordan Morrison, and this is episode 49 of It Is What It Is. And I'm really thankful to be here. I appreciate you being here. And if you follow the podcast, you know that I took 2 weeks off. But if this is your first podcast, then you don't really care. You don't really know what I'm talking about. But those 2 weeks off, I'm telling you, were so crucial for just so many different aspects of my life. And I feel like a completely different person than I did 2 weeks ago or even 4 weeks ago. So genuinely, I just really appreciate what's going on. A lot of really cool, good things are going on in my life. So I thank the universe. I thank God. I thank all of you. I thank everyone, shout out to everyone. Things are going good. And the reason things are going good are actually pretty simple. And the cool thing about it is I think if you picked up a couple of these things that I've been doing in the last 2 weeks, I think you'll feel better inside of 2 weeks as well. The biggest contributing factors to me feeling good right now is I haven't been drinking alcohol. I guess I had a couple drinks on Saturday, but I'm living a sober lifestyle, and that's been awesome for me. It has been really good. And I'm off social media. That has been huge. Not being on Instagram or TikTok has changed my life. I feel human, and it sounds daunting going back. It really doesn't make sense to go back. I keep telling people how good I feel being off social media. Like, I'm not worried about any of the bullshit that's going on politically. I'm not worried about what my friends think of me. I'm not worried about other people online and what their life might seem like. There's just so many reasons to get off of social media, I feel like. And I get that like people who are creatives and produce content and all that kind of stuff, like they need to be on social media. I get that. I totally do. I'm one of those people. But I'm really trying to find the right balance of producing content, chasing, my goals, my dreams, all that good stuff, and managing social media. Because not being off of it, I'm telling you, has made me feel more like my younger self, like childlike. And I've been laughing and doing more of the activities that I liked doing as a kid. I create more, Instead of consuming on social media, I've been creating more. And that feels amazing. I've been drawing, I've been painting, I've been making music. I've been collaborating with other creatives, doing like photo shoots, vlogs, just cool stuff. And if I had wasted that time on social media like I was doing, I was wasting hours a day on social media. Doing what? Taking what away from it? More anxiety, more stress. I got off of social media and I found that I had more time to do the human things that I like to do. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. If you think that you are depressed or anxious or anything, and you're also on social media, I'm going to call you out and I'm going to say, change what you're doing. Because I was unhappy and I paused and I said, well, what am I putting into my life if I don't like the outcome? What's going on the day to day? Trying to figure out, what can I change? What can I change? What don't I like? Let's start there. Well, I don't like being hungover. I don't like the way it makes me feel. Cut the alcohol out. I didn't like comparing myself on social media. I didn't like how it always felt like the world was going to end on social media. I didn't like comparing myself. From the second I got up, my feed was telling me like how to feel. And I noticed a huge difference in my overall life. So if anyone's thinking about getting off of social media, I highly recommend it. It'll be one of the best things you've ever done. And I'm telling you, it's so hard for me to wrap my brain around going back. Will I go back? I don't know. I hope not. I hope I figure it out in a way that makes sense for me. That's really what I hope. But what else happened in the last 2 weeks? We're clearly in a different space. My studio where I was shooting my podcast and making my music is now dedicated just to making music. I built this small little recording booth out of PVC pipe and moving pads. I've been doing a lot of covers of like some of my favorite artists like Joji and Mike. So I'm going to be releasing some of those soon. But the covers, let me tell you, if you're making music, covers are really important because it shows you how to emulate what you're trying to make, you know, like, hey, I want to sound like that. Well, go practice sounding like that, you know, cover that vocal and see how close you can get. Because if you want to sound like that and you can't cover a song, you know, and hit the notes and do all that kind of stuff, then you're gonna have a tough time making your own tracks. So the covers have been super cool and I'm really excited to start releasing them. I've got my own music that I'm working on and it's been rad. It's been so good for me to just dedicate a complete space to my music. And we got the podcast out here now. So this is where the podcast will happen for the foreseeable future, you know. Never really know what's going to happen, but it's been interesting to say the least. The last 2 weeks, I've learned a lot. I learned that not everybody has the sales knowledge that I have, which I got to give myself some credit. You know, I've been selling for a good chunk of years, and I've learned a few things. And when somebody tries to sell me something, you know, if it doesn't sit right, then there's a reason for it. And I was able to evaluate a couple different opportunities in the last 2 weeks. One of the coolest opportunities, I'm going to kind of just leave it vague because I have to, is I did my first interview for a TV show that's being filmed in June and July. So we'll see. I got the second interview coming up and it's with the executive producer and we'll see. Maybe I'll get a third interview. Who knows? Maybe I'll get casted, but regardless, it's been a super fun process already. So that also happened in the last 2 weeks, kind of played a factor into why I've been gone because I've been working on accelerating my music and all that good stuff. I've really been putting in the time and I wanted to make sure that my focus stays music, you know, as much as I love the podcast and I think it's rad. I don't want to be, you know, a podcast guy. I want to be a musician. So I took a moment to kind of recollect and re-aim and take action towards those goals. So again, I know I've just been rambling about the past 2 weeks, but they have been amazing. They really have. Yeah, I was thinking about what I was putting into my life. You know, I wasn't putting in enough time with music. I wasn't paying attention to the things that were important to me, you know, like being present, like touching base with my family, like studying, reading, stretching, all those things that I love, you know. Wasn't focusing on those things and I was focusing on distractions. And I was given some really good advice by somebody that I admire. And they were like, hey, maybe you need to go to therapy. I was like, I probably do. So I hit up therapy in the last 2 weeks, got that started, maybe last 3 weeks. And it's been instrumental. It's part of the reason why I took some time off is because I was so invested in working some of the things out that I was having go on inside. You know, I was struggling with some emotions. I was struggling with some of my past, and I was struggling with some of my future. So it was good, you know, to talk it out with somebody and figure it out. So therapy's been great. You know, add that to the list. No alcohol. Making more music, no social media, going to therapy. I stopped dating, you know, I was putting so much pressure on myself to I gotta find a girlfriend, you know, and that's not how you find a girlfriend. It's not how you find anything. You You don't put pressure on yourself to find something, you know? That's just not going to work out. It's not going to work out, you know, for the best. So currently not dating, which the dating scene was just toxic. I'm not saying it's completely toxic. I'm not saying that the people are toxic. It just was toxic for me. It wasn't working. I had a contributing factor in that being toxic, you know? So I'm not dating. I'm trying to get better sleep. I'm trying to wake up early, trying to eat more red meat. That's another thing. It's crazy. I started eating more red meat and I feel so good. So shout out to my buddy Garrett. He got me on like close to a carnivore diet. I'm a believer, you know. I've been eating way more red meat. I've been eating way more lean protein. I've been trying to just eat more protein in general. And I feel good. I feel good in the gym. I feel good on my runs. So these are the things. I know I said earlier that I wanted to share with you the things that are making me feel better. But to recap again, it's no alcohol, no social media. I'm putting more time into music. I'm spending more time doing the things that I like, talking to my family, stretching, reading, meditating, eating more red meat, working out harder. I'm telling you, I feel good. It's wild. The hard work that people say that you have to put in every day to make things worthwhile, to feel good, they're right. You got to cook your own meals. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the time, and you got to be willing to climb the hill. Like there's this one route that I run here in Nashville, and it's all uphill one way, right? It's all uphill to a track. And for a couple days, I was thinking like, damn, this route, it's kicking my ass, you know, it's all uphill. My legs would cramp up, you know, when I would get home, and I was feeling sorry for myself. But then halfway through my run, I'm thinking like, I've got to eat this hill. I've got to crush it. I've got to absolutely destroy this hill. And it takes one step at a time. And that last step sucked. The next one's going to suck. But that's the only way that I get to the top. And I am so thankful that I had that thought, because I related it to everything I'm doing right now. It's uphill with my podcast. It's uphill with my music. It's uphill with my brand, everything. And everything that you do is going to be uphill. There's nothing that you're going to get into and be passionate about and want success in. It's going to be downhill. I mean, there's going to be things that are fun, things that are click, and things that just roll, for sure. But whatever you have in mind, it's a grind. And there's no right time to start. Like I was talking to this girl at this restaurant that I make myself a regular at, and she was saying like, yeah, I just want to get a little bit more established before I start my career in whatever, you know, like she said she wanted to do styling, right? She's like, yeah, I want to be a stylist. And I was like, when are you going to start doing that? And she's like, like after I get a little bit more established in my job, yada, yada, whatever, you know? And that's fair. I'm not hating one bit. I was there as well. I remember being that person, being like, yeah, I need a little bit more time. I need a little bit more money. But my advice is to jump in and do it. Start, even if you don't feel comfortable, even if it isn't what you had envisioned, all those kinds of things. Just go for it. I know I've been kind of just rambling. I'm going to get into a couple funny stories that I had this week. So I'll kind of pivot. There's my motivation for y'all. Take it, leave it. Don't really care. It's out there. So it's all you now. I had a conversation with a guy at that same bar I was just talking about, and he is like an alcohol rep for Anheuser-Busch, however you say that, the Bud Light company. And I had a really interesting conversation with him, because I was very much in the camp when Bud Light came out with that can for Dylan Mulvaney. I was like, I ain't drinking Bud Light ever again. Like, that company screwed up and I'm done. I don't want to think about drinking Bud Light. But as I was sitting there talking with the guy, he was telling me his perspective within the company. He was saying, hey man, like I didn't have a say in it. A majority of the company didn't have a say in it. He believes the CEO didn't know about that one marketing thing that they were doing. And he's like, he believes 90% of the company, wouldn't agree with a move like that. And so I asked him, I said, hey, what more could y'all have done? Like, what would you have done differently? What would you do, if you had to, take responsibility for it? And he said he would apologize. He would have straight up just said like, hey, we know we offended, some people, and we apologize to those people. And he was saying that people have been there for 10, 20, 30 years and lost their jobs because of the boycott, because of people not drinking Bud Light. And I'm like, dang, that's brutal, to really think about it. Like I had like to put yourself in their shoes. Like I had no say in this random marketing thing that they did. So on the flip side, I'm telling him like, when it happened, I thought that they had like produced and like put out cans with Dylan Mulvaney and like all this trans stuff or whatever. That's what I thought. That was my perception off what I got on social media. And that's not at all what happened. They sent her one can, and with talking with this guy, like I just realized how much in common I have with him, with the company that I work for, and at the end of the conversation, I was like, hey man, I just want to let you know that like hearing from you and hearing your side of the story as an employee for Bud Light, I'm going to start drinking Bud Light again because of him. And, I made sure to tell him that. So that was an interesting part of my week. I not too many times do I come across situations where I change my mind, but, I'm open to it. I definitely am open to, hearing people out and trying to figure out like, how do I feel about it now? I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to change my actions, whatever. So if anyone wants to have that full conversation with me, more than happy to have it. See if I can change your mind, get you drinking Bud Light, because they did the right things is what him and I ended up talking about. They fired the girl who made the marketing decision, and they turned around and they went like classic Bud Light advertising and marketing, and I think that that's what you would want a company to do that screwed up, right? Is to hold the people responsible and try to move forward with the best they can. And that's even something that I'm learning in therapy, is that like I take younger versions of myself, I take past versions of myself it's no longer me, and I hold that view of myself of, somebody who's apologized and paid the price, and yet I still identify, or I still hold on, or like part of my conscious is maybe subconscious is holding on to, something that isn't really me. And that wasn't really Bud Light, so I can relate. And I can change and steer course. So that was a really good conversation that I had. Not a great conversation that I had was somebody had mentioned global warming in the lobby of my apartment, and I kind of just laughed as I walked by, and they were like, I bet you don't believe in global warming. And I was like, call it global hotting or something scary, because global warming, you're not getting my attention out of that. Global warming, you want me to think that like the world's ending because of global warming? Call it like global fire, global hotting, global anything other than warming. Warm sounds great. I love warm, but it's not scary. Global warming, nice try. Yeah, nice try. My last story, this is maybe the most wild thing that's happened to me in a long time. I meet these two new friends of mine at a bar, and we're talking, having a good time. And they were like, hey, you know what? We're going to another bar across town. Like, you should totally meet up with us over there. So I'm like, okay, sweet. Meet up with them. We're all having a good time. I'm at a runner's club, and I'm thinking like, I'm going to join this runners club and I'm going to have a grand old time because like, they're like, we're not really runners. I'm like, me neither. So I meet some people and we go to another bar closer here to my apartment and we're hanging out. And all of a sudden this group walks in, busy bar, right? And this girl in the front, smoke show. I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, I'm looking at this girl and I'm like, whew, I'd like to know you. And then the second girl behind her, we make eyes. And I'm thinking like something was up because the way she was looking at me, the way I was looking at her, I didn't know, like, does she want to fight me? Like, why was she looking at me sideways? Like, what's going on? Like, is she offended? Like, what happened? Because there was just something there that I couldn't like quite grasp, you know? And so I see the rest of the group walk in. 5 minutes later, I'm chilling. I get like, somebody grabs me by the arm and they're like, are you Jordan Morrison? And I was like, yeah, I am. And she's like, and that's funny. I guess I shouldn't have said her name. And I guess that's funny because, or it is funny because she was the daughter of a woman who dated my dad when we were young. And I haven't seen that girl since I was like 10 years old in a completely different state. So she recognized me and said hi. And I was so excited to see her. You know, it was great to see her. And I'm hoping she introduces me to her friend. I mean, kind of not dating, but I'd like to know her. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's really all I got. I'm going to be changing up the podcast. I'm going to be adding some more music content for y'all in this coming week. I'm going to start recording all that and hopefully it'll provide some insight to like the process of getting it done. And I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's episode 49. It's in the books. We're done. Calling it a night. Have a good one, y'all. I'll see you in a little while. Bye.